So I want to sort of connect the dots about history here and sort of fill in the blanks also about the excitement over the beef ribs that I was able to make and eat for 2 days so far, and it'll be another day until they're all gone, basically. So before Yellowstone National Park ever existed, there were these people called Aboriginals. Well, for us, we use the word Indian, First Nations. And in that area, the Montana region, we were known as Blackfoot. And we didn't come in canoes and we didn't paddle in water. We were the first ones that people traveling through, settlers, cowboys, all them people, pioneers, found riding horses. We were hunters. We hunted everything wonderful on the land. So we had obviously a wealth of buffalo. And of course, you have deer and elk and moose, and you can have goat and lamb and rabbit. Fish, not so much, unless we could find a river or ravine where we could get a hold of some now and again. And of course, we would, because that's why we ended up in Alberta, because we had come over to this side of what was essentially just our home. The whole place was our home. It was just one big piece of land. There was no fence, there was no border, there was no America. So don't call me American, and don't call Montana America any more than you can call Alberta Canada. It belonged to a people and it belonged to a way of life. And the people on this side were trying to live in peace with the people on that side. And that's how you ended up with the farmers and the ranchers that love Alberta and are fighting for their right to segregate and join in with some of the ranchers and farmers in the States, because they don't know what else to do today after what had happened in the loss of the way of life and culture that was there, and all of the meat and the hunting and everything that disappeared when civilization and civilization moved in. And so as good of an idea as they wish that is, essentially, you can't do that. The countries have established themselves and they've been in place for too long. All we can do is wait on Jesus. Jesus is with us. He is here. The second coming is amongst us. The end of this system things upon us. And so my story about the beef ribs is I grew up having access to all kinds of meat. I grew up in Winnipeg going to school. I was around Métis. I was around sweat lodges. I was around powwows. I was richly endowed with culture. They had a thing called the Folkorama, where different countries from around the world came together, and over a 2-week period there were these passports you had to stamp by going to different venues to try and see all these different countries and try all these different foods and see all these different celebrations and costumes, and it was wonderful. And in the wintertime they had Festival du Voyageur. So I was very lucky that I got to enjoy the best of everything. We had Marineland, there was SeaWorld, Vancouver Aquarium. All of it was still very much alive, and I got to be around it. So I'm very fortunate that God educated me that way at that point in time. So one of the things in Winnipeg I grew up being used to was something called the Buffalo Barbecue. And it was literally this big, huge event in this shopping mall parking lot. It's just barbecue after barbecue after barbecue. All sorts of rich beef. I'm sure there was some, pork ribs or whatever, but it was not our major mainstay. It wasn't the venue. It's called the Buffalo Barbecue for a reason. And then moving forward, one day, I'm in Prince Rupert in my 30s, and for the first time in my entire adult life, I'm seeing a whole pig being roasted. Apparently it was the year of the pig. I had never seen that before. I was not raised with roast pork in my house. It took me forever just to learn how to cook breakfast sausages from Safeway only, just cooked enough for me to feel safe enough to eat them, rather than being worried about the movie V and having worms in my body growing or bacteria taking over or something. So other than that, it was bacon. Every once in a while, I would eat a high-grade slab of ham with applesauce or whatever. Same thing with pork chop, Safeway only, and there would be no fat on it. My grandma, my mom would have to pick the best to get me to eat that. But otherwise, virtually no pork in my life. So when the influx of immigration changed after all the death from all of the murders, from all of the people on the Highway of Tears that went missing, and all of the domestic violence and all the untold stories and announced numbers of statistics being replaced by immigrants from other countries started happening, the food changed, the resources changed, the stores changed. Now, as much as I love my Chinese friend, in 20 years, I think I only ate the pork ribs once when she cooked them for me. She tried to take me to restaurants and she would eat the cow belly, and she'd call it, oh, what do you call that term? Oh, Henry Cavill uses it all the time. Anyways, it's not the stomach of a cow. That's all I'm saying, and I wouldn't do that. So I don't do pork. I like beef. Pork is like literally the cheapest version of meat there is when you're starving, when you just need to eat protein, and we're made to eat protein. So that said, the answer to our problem isn't eating less meat. I'm not a vegetarian, and I would never change to vegetarianism. There's no reason to. Right? I have had history here. Our cultures have been here for thousands of years, if not tens of thousands. And the people that came here, the pioneers, the settlers, the French that settled with us and chose to have children with us and become one of us, been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. Nobody here from that era of life and way of life, culture, food, style of living is going to change. Nor do we feel bad, nor are we going to. We have to make it very clearly understood that this is God's country, and it will be God's way. Christ reigns. He is king over this system, over the future to come, and he will do what he wants to do. So I stuck it out. For 20 years, I'd go to the stores, the Safeways, the Superstores, the Costco's, wherever I could, the Loblaws, and I would look and look and look and look, and I could never find beef ribs anywhere. And I grew up going to restaurants, and I grew up going to these buffalo barbecues, and I grew up having access to beef ribs everywhere. I grew up to having rabbit, I grew up having moose, I grew up having access to buffalo, like, just goes on. And all of a sudden there's nothing, and it's just pork everything everywhere. And I wouldn't buy it, wouldn't touch it. It's not going to happen. So I'm celebrating and telling you guys this story that after 20 years of a drought, I went to the Calgary Stampede to watch my daughter perform in the parade with her teen tour band from Burlington, and to see that event, the Calgary Stampede again, since I was 8 years old. It's like going for the first time because I could hardly remember it. I ate beef ribs at the same place twice, and I paid $25 for 2 ribs the first time, and the guy in the second round was so nice. He chopped off an extra one because he knew I was hungry, because it had been decades since I've been able to have beef ribs. He gave me a third one. So I got 5 ribs for $50, and it was the best $50 I ever had. So I come back to Vancouver, and all of a sudden, I go to Costco, and the drought is over, and there's beef all over the place for me. Big, huge, long stalks, like a Flintstone scene. Fred Flintstone and Barney eating big, huge ribs of dino ribs or whatever, but I didn't buy the big one, but I bought a pack of 7. Cooked up the whole thing yesterday, and I am celebrating every single day while I have access to them. I'm probably going to go back and get more, maybe the big one. So I did a thank offering, sin offering, a guilt offering, whatever you call it, with God last night. Thank you for feeding me really good meat, high-grade meat, letting me cook this for the first time in my life. I cooked it myself. And really got to enjoy how good it is when you make it from scratch on your own because you're a good cook and can cook. So I'm realizing I should probably be married to a hunter or be working on a ranch and be the camp cook because the animals would love me and they would keep making more babies, which means there'd be more animals and everybody would be happy because the food is good and everybody would just be happy from food being good. So that's the story about the fact that, you know, we're here and we're not going anywhere. This is our house and we're not going to change the way we live and eat, and that Montana and Alberta technically belong together. It is one house, it's one place, and never should have been separated. I think a lot of the states and the provinces in some way historically throughout the history of what happened in dividing North America probably should be reinstated in that same way, in that same sense. So power out to Kevin Costner for dropping off the show, for having an instinct of realizing what happened with Yellowstone was not a good story. It was making a culture and a way of life completely distinct in order to take over land and think that it was his and trying to protect it. And then in the end, he passes away and it becomes a park anyway, because there was way more to the story than that. I come from a family of a line of Indian chiefs, and protect our family, protect the women and children. They had been told that they were invited to stay on this side in Canada when the border went into place and the countries were divided, so that there would be descendants. So there's a lot there still for that show, for those people to discover in America about the truth. And I'm glad he did the right thing instinctively because of what's missing. You can't always watch and listen and believe what you see on the Netflix series or television at all, right? You have to sort of look for more truth yourself. So there's way more to Alberta and Montana history, the Blackfoot Nation people and the hunting and the way of life that went on there than what that TV show or the two shows separately are talking about. So yeah, do your homework, enjoy beef ribs, go to Costco while they're still available, buy them, support the ranchers that support us and feed us, and allow them to continue to give us more beef ribs. So that's my story. The drought is over. I'm going to enjoy beef ribs as long as I have access to buying them. I'm so glad I went to Alberta. I supported Alberta. I'm glad I went to the Calgary Stampede. It has blessed me. It brought me luck. Thank you, Alberta, for continuing to feed me. And that's my story. Thank you. Hi, Aurora. I'm Jennifer. This is Now TV Canada at I Am Just Jen YouTube channel. I say it's I Am Just Jen because everybody always asks me if I like to be called Jen, Jenny, or Jennifer. And so I got tired of answering that. So I just called the channel I Am Just Jen. I did not know the channel was going to turn into Now TV. That came from the term own from Oprah Winfrey. It sort of hit a nerve with me. I didn't like the acronym. I didn't like this concept of somebody saying I own everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch it around to being a really kind and generous person. And I'm going to call it now. As in what's happening in your life now, where I am now, what's happening somewhere else now, and what's happening in my life now. So that's the story in the background on that. Thank you for watching a little bit of the background about my Indian princess confession. And also Lady Jennifer Suzanne Norfolk, British side of confession. So I'm actually higher up in the royal line on my Blackfoot side. So Patrick Brazeau is a very intuitive Indian chief and very aware. So yeah, I'm very expensive to feed. And it's very good because my food is good. So if you bring me food that you hunt with, I will cook it and feed everyone. And everybody will enjoy what I cook because my food is that good. So that's it, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I will be back with more watching me eat beef ribs. I hope I make everybody hungry. Peace out. Bye.